Coming up on this episode of Latinas, we'll celebrate the holiday season and learn how to make pasteles, check out the Coquito Masters competition, and so much more. Latinas starts now. Welcome to Latinas, the show that's all about nosotras, created by nosotras. And I'm Tina Beth Pina. Today, I'm inside Santa's Winter Wonderland, a whimsical waterfront holiday installation on Pier 15 in New York City, and we'll have more on this magical place later in the show. But first, when I think about the holidays in the city, I think about Radio City Music Hall and the Rockettes. Correspondent Isabel Ortiz was lucky enough to sit down with the first Latina Rockette, Lillian Colon, who broke barriers through her inspiring dance journey. Let's take a look.
When I went to Radio City and I saw how beautiful everything was and how everything just came together and worked well on the stage, the lights, the sets, the girls, it was just so perfect in such an unperfect world that I was living in.
Lillian's first encounter with the Rockettes was unforgettable. On that rare trip from the orphanage, she sat in awe, watching the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall. In that moment, a dream ignited, a passion that would ultimately lead her back to her roots.
I lived in the orphanage from 3 to 18 for 15 years. There wasn't a black, white, Asian, anything. It was all orphans, and everybody was an orphan, so we were all equal. So that stripped me of my Latina roots until I became 18 and I was able to seek it out on my own.
When you first auditioned for the Rockettes, did you even realize you were the first Latina Rockette, or did that revelation come a little later?
I didn't at all. I wasn't Colon, I was Colon. There was no accent on my second O. They would never do that. So to be on that stage and to become the first Latina Rockette was, wow, it's a responsibility as well. So to be on that stage and join a legacy that not too many of us get to do. And there's a lot of requirements, you have to be 5'5.5" to 5'9.5". So I had to fit that requirement. And that's in stocking feet, that's not in high heels.
Joining the Rockettes was more than a job. It was an opportunity for Lillian to reclaim her sense of self. After years of feeling overlooked, she was ready to step into the spotlight.
Just the joy beaming from your face, it must have been like a dream come true for you.
It was. It really was a dream come true to be the ultimate glamour girl, the girl next door. They used to say, well, you're not the girl next door. I was like, I'm the girl next door in the projects. We're girls next door. Why can't we? And it's always that blonde, blue-eyed, beautiful girl next door look, but we are girls next door too in the projects. We're the girl next door. Yeah. Why doesn't anybody recognize us?
Mm-hmm. Lillian took this vision further, proposing the first Spanish-language Rockette show, a move that brought the show closer to Latin audiences.
So I said to him, I said, I would like you to consider if we would do a show in Spanish, our show in Spanish. And he liked the idea. And so I started to put together what I felt that the show would look like and sound like, and to bring in all the Latino connections that I had at that time so that we can do the show in Spanish. And we launched the show in Spanish, and we did it for 5 years.
After years on the Radio City stage, Lillian has found a new way to make an impact. Now, through teaching dance and sharing her journey, she's passing on her passion to others.
Once Rockettes were over, I was like, now where do I find that same passion in my own life? How do I build that passion? Where does that come from? So I decided to write the story as though I never thought of it as a story, like they say in Chorus Line, what are you going to do when you can't dance anymore? Well, thank God I'm continuing to teach and to dance and constantly to be the best that I can be for my daughter.
Now, after years of iconic Rockette routines, Lillian is dreaming even bigger. She hopes to see her own story take center stage on Broadway.
I would like to see Lily on Broadway. I would like to be able to open opportunities for other Latinos, which is very hard to do because we have the talent, We have el jicamo, we got the whole feeling, but we don't have the opportunities. And so if I can open up opportunities for myself as well as for others to be able to shine their talents on Broadway as well, I'd love to see it in a movie, of course. It's like the Puerto Rican Annie.
For Latinas, I'm Isabel Ortiz.
Holiday season is Coquito season, and for the past 24 years, Debbie Quiñones, aka the Coquito Contessa, hosts an annual contest where contestants compete for the title of Coquito Master of the Year. Correspondent Elena Romero has that story.
Well, you're actually sitting in the space where it started. I had a holiday party, and I invited all my friends, and I told them to bring Coquito, and we had the contest like right here. And the winner kind of went around the living room like this.
And just like that, Debbie Quiñones created Coquito Masters in 2001 and grew the competition through the 5 boroughs and beyond. Her culinary background attributed to its success.
Why not apply culinary practice to our identity? And celebrate Coquito as a culinary excellence. Coquito is a really interesting thing because it represents the resiliency of the Puerto Rican community. It represents a response to colonialism and imperialism, because when you think about the ingredients that Coquito is made with, they come from other countries, right? So you have China with the coconut, you have cinnamon from India, you have all these different things, and they all landed on Puerto Rico, and that was transformed into Coquito.
The Boricua holiday drink is primarily made with coconut milk, sweetened condensed milk, evaporated milk, rum, and spices. In the Coquito Masters competition, contestants compete in the categories of traditional, fusion, and green. Contestants enter their version of Coquito for a blind tasting competition. Attendees taste entries and cast their votes to select the best Coquito.
The ultimate goal of Coquito Masters is to create informed Coquito consumers, because there's bad Coquito that's out there and they're getting over on us and they're getting over on the community. So the idea is what started as a Coquito tasting contest has elevated to Coquito Masters, because we are recognizing and honoring the work that these people put in, because the Coquito has always been like in the closet, under the table. The idea is to promote excellence.
And what determines a good tasting Coquito?
In my mind, has legs, has body. It's a balance of all the ingredients where one is not overpowering, but coconut must be present, has to be present, and that it flows and that there's layers to the flavor, because I think that when it's too sweet, right, that's what hits you. And if it's too hard with the liquor, it burns you. So finding that wonderful balance of a creamy Coquito, and that opens up a whole discussion. How do you make Coquito?
Coquito Masters contestant Joyce Ruiz has been making Coquito for the past 30 years. The secret behind her tasty Coquito lies in her grandmother's recipe.
Both grandmas lived in the neighborhood. They pretty much did the same thing. One used ginger and one didn't. I never mastered the measurements of using the ginger, so I did away with the ginger. So I have a secret ingredient that I prepare beforehand, and it has to be chilled. And once I have that, and then I start mixing it, I don't put it in a blender, I whisk it.
For Ruiz, Coquito is more than just a drink. It's a tradition that connects families and communities. A taste of Puerto Rico that can be had all year long. Her message is evident.
Don't be afraid to try it, It's, part of our culture. Don't let it go. Don't let it slip through your hands. Keep it thriving, keep it alive.
I'm Elena Romero for Latinas.
Shifting gears, Oftentimes, gun violence can be attributed to its glorification in music and video games, and unfortunately, Latino youth are disproportionately affected. 3 Latinas who have experienced gun violence in different ways are back to discuss how we can possibly control what our kids are listening to and watching in today's Caliente Caliente.
Everything is like, oh, how many likes you got? They get so hype. They get so, oh, I got 1 million, I got this, I got that.
Between the GT games and my children play it and I watch them, and it's this gang culture, this gang violence. It is cool to be rough, and it's cool to be aggressive and fight. And we don't give spaces for people to say, hey, I'm sensitive, right? Even in our social media, they will post things of people getting hurt that you're like, I can't watch this. Right. Why is everyone so inhumane about things?
Nothing is regulated.
Right.
And so this is what the kids are listening to, what they're following, what they're seeing, what masculinity looks like now, right?
Yes.
What femininity looks like, and everything in between. Like how we resolve our beefs is all online for the world to see.
And with social media, you see these videos of kids getting, it's
awful,
horrendous, it's awful. And I'm really sad for youth because we didn't we didn't have that when we were young.
Yes.
It's scary.
Yes.
It's really, really scary. And I think as parents, besides the fact that we're living in an environment where we're struggling to pay our bills, we're struggling to put food on the table, we're struggling with life and mental health, we also have to kind of, you were saying protect your children, but how do you protect your children in such a violent world, in a violent city?
When my son is 20 years old, and I'll be like, Angel, 9 o'clock. And if it's not 9 o'clock, I'll be with you. If not, then I'll bring you up. Or, you know, and it might be like, oh yeah, you babying him. I wish I could just put him in a bubble, you know, so nothing could happen to my child.
There was a time when you had an ability to curate what your children got exposed to. But now, because our children have technology at their fingertips 24/7, whether it's their phone, whether it's their lap, whatever it is, they have access to an entire world outside of their school world or their home-based world. So they're being exposed to things. The things that they know about, we don't even know what it is that they're seeing on a daily basis.
It's scary because the cycle's not ending. And as someone who loves rap music, I was born and raised on hip hop.
We were.
This is not hip hop.
No.
This is, you know, and I break down my son's lyrics, smoking on someone's mama, and I'm like, wait, you mean the ashes of the dead person? He's like, yeah, ma, that's what they mean when they say we're smoking on that person.
How do you even
and I'm
write
like,
about that?
Wait a minute, why would you? And this is what they do, and this is what they talk about.
Kids these days don't have nothing after school. And then if they do after school, they got to pay for after school. And we know, single mothers, you know, we can't afford it. At the end of the day, we need to make sure that our youth are protected. There's a lot of peer pressure outside. You know, if we go out together, I might don't want to do something, but because I'm in that little group, I'm tempted to do things that I don't want to do to fit in. And so that's another aspect that I feel that has a lot to do with our kids being lost because they don't have a place to go and be themselves.
And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we currently have a system, a mayor who has cut funding.
Yes.
Especially education funding. So it is all set to community-based organizations to provide after school. But I think that, you know, even though we're in different communities, we all are experiencing the same thing.
Yes.
I will say from my respective community, we do have after school till 6 o'clock, but we're not addressing the children that are in the streets till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because sometimes parents have 2 to 3 jobs, right? Yes. And you do have a few cornerstones that are open to that, but you're not targeting the youth. You're not targeting them in a way that we speak to them, right? Their culture is very different than ours. They're doing drill music, their lingo, the way they talk, the way they dress. And even though we have children, I think that I'm young. My kids remind me often I'm outdated.
You know,
I think so too.
they'll be the first to tell you.
I mean, we don't say that anymore. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. We need to find a platform somewhere, somehow, that we will be able to, I'm not going to say disappear it because we're definitely not going to be able to do that, but have a little control on how much our kids can see, the music, You know, the videos, the promoting on how easy they could get a gun, all of that, it needs to like really like bring it down a lot, because that influenced a lot of our kids.
Daisy Ogier Dominguez is a globally recognized author who's been a top executive in human resources at companies like Vice Media and Google. She just published her second book entitled Burnt Out to Lit Up. And we're about to find out what that book is all about and why she's today's Inspiración Latina.
I'm Daisy O.J. Dominguez. I am a Global Chief People Officer, author, and speaker. So I did the opposite migratory pattern. I was born in New York City and I was raised in the Dominican Republic. My mother is Puerto Rican, my dad is Dominican, and they were 15 and 16 when they had me. And they were ill-prepared to raise a child. And I was really fortunate that my father's parents offered to raise me in the Dominican Republic. And then I moved to New Milford, New Jersey as a junior in high school, and it was very clear from the onset that I was a foreigner. I had a US passport, I was American. But when it came to culture, when it came to even my educational habits, they were completely different from the rest of my colleagues. But I will say that mi abuela, my mother, she always said that I was gonna be a professional. And in many ways, that gave me the encouragement and the courage to know that I could achieve whatever I wanted to achieve. But to be a Latina in any corporate environment can be very lonely. And it can really eat at your confidence and, and your ability to see yourself. I know what it's like to worry about what am I wearing? Is it gonna be seen as too sexualized? Am I gonna invoke any negative images of Latinos in not just how I dress, but also how I engage, how I connect? And I think that while that challenge continues to exist in corporate America, one of the things that really I was able to lean on and that allowed me to succeed and move on in my career was that I was Latina. I started my career as a credit risk analyst. This was a time when we were expanding markets in Latin America, and all of a sudden, all the senior leaders, one of them looked up and said, wait, that young analyst over there, she speaks Spanish. I was like, let's get her to come. That's how I even landed in these roles. In the early part of my career, it was about education. I had my undergraduate degree, I had my master's in international relations, but really the opportunities that I got along the way were very much about me being at the right place and at the right time, and people wanting to work with me. Latinos are collaborative. We are community builders. And they hire you for your magic, but they want to suck that magic away, right? Because they want you to conform to these dated norms of professionalism. And I say, that time is gone. We all have to adapt to the environments that we're in, but not at the risk of who you are. Because here's what happens. When you diminish parts of yourself, when you cover who you are in order to survive in an organizational context, people know you less, which means that they trust you less, which means that they think of you less for those high potential opportunities. So actually, being who you are is what allows you to become that senior executive that you want to. And so that's where I learned. And from there, I went on to work at Time Warner and at Disney and at Google. And all of those were progressive roles, originally mostly with a diversity and inclusion lens, but I would always take on another function within HR. And I have chosen corporate America to be the vehicle through which I try to drive change, because leadership, I believe, is a service and a calling. I believe in kindness, and I believe in lifting up what are the core attributes of our culture, which is collaboration, which is community. You don't have to speak Spanish fluently to be considered Latino. If you are part of the Latino diaspora, you are part of us. We are both highly visible, because we are 19% of the US population, but we are also highly invisible in organizations. To be able to navigate and move up the executive ranks and to count in those roles means that we're gonna have to help support each other to do that. And that is actually what inspired me to write my first book, Inclusion Revolution, because I have seen the ebbs and the flows, and I wanted to be able to share what I've learned, which is persist. We have to persist. And my new book is called Burnt Out to Lit Up: how to reignite the joy of leading people. And I wrote this book because I know firsthand how exhausting and depleting it can be. Always satisfy other people's demands of who they think you are. And I wanted to write what I call a no-nonsense love letter to managers. What we need to do is ensure that we are creating access and opportunity, because I fundamentally believe that creating workplaces that work for everyone is the way that we're going to succeed as not just as companies, but as a nation.
The holidays are always a great time to step up your style game. And we've got some looks for you to try from the talented Latino designers just in time for Tu Fiesta de Navidad. It's pasteles season, and what's the best way to have your pasteles come out perfect, moist, y sabroso? Our Latina lifestyle expert Rosie Cruz is here to tell us how.
To make the most delicious and most importantly moist pasteles, the secret is in the masa. Masa is the key. To make the masa very moist, you gather at least 3 pounds of green bananas, 2 plátanos, plantains, green plantains, 3 yautillas, and a half of calabaza, and you blend it in your blender very well, adding carnation milk or the broth that you already have set aside. Mixing all these ingredients together will give you 30 pasteles. First, you start by peeling each of the green banana, the top, bottom. Then you take over the plantains, the yautilla, you have to peel it, clean it, and slice it as well, and placing them into a 2-gallon bowl of water with salt. You add salt to the water to prevent the vegetables from turning dark on you. Then the next step is you grab all those ingredients that are already diced and you blend it together to form a masa similar to hummus. After all the ingredients are already mixed together, you pour the masa into another bowl where the masa will be blended together, and then you start adding all the spices to give it some taste. And make sure that it looks like an orangey color. After that, take a taste. It should not be overly salty if you follow my instructions. So your next step is the meat filling. It could be chicken, beef, or pork, whatever your choice. You dice it in small pieces, then you cut your onion and peppers and adobo sazon and your sofrito, and you season it in the bowl all together. Then you put that pot to cook in your stove for 45 minutes. The broth from that you have left over, you can actually add it to your masa, and that's what makes the masa very moist. Then it's assembly time. Your assembly line can be your countertop or your dining table, whatever you prefer. Open your parchment paper, you place a banana leaf right on top, you put achote on it and you spread it. Then you take your masa, you place it on top. Then you take your beef and you place it on top. And then you fold the parchment paper in half like if it's a gift. And you fold it, left and right, turn it over. Then proceed to make the second one, same way, follow through. Then you pack it together and you you tie it up with twine. The secret tip is you wrap it like a gift. Are they ready to eat? No, they need to be cooked first. So you start boiling water with salt, then you place your 3 sets of pasteles and you let them cook for 45 minutes. After they finish boiling, you turn off your pot and you actually have to let them cool off because they are really steamy. So you have to be extra careful when opening your first pastel. And then you just unwrap them like a gift. So after the pastel is done and you unwrap it on your plate and you're ready to eat it with your favorite rice and maybe some avocado on the side, you enjoy it with your family. Buen provecho. And remember, if you want another tip, just ask Rose.
Are you looking for a great place to go this holiday season that's just off the beaten path? Then why not spend some time right here at Santa's Winter Wonderland? Let's take a look. The outdoor experience starts from the moment you walk into Santa's magical hallway and follow it into the annual Winter Wonderland, filled with Christmas trees, holiday lights, decorations, and more. Highlights include Santa's gingerbread house, Santa's sleigh, and Santa's snake shack stocked with seasonal treats.
So this is our 4th year hosting Santa's Winter Wonderland. We wanted a place that people can come to in the winter and enjoy the beautiful views. So it's a family-friendly experience, and we're happy to have it again.
The outdoor experience does charge a general admission fee, and there are fun-filled activities, including a Letters to Santa workshop, Santa's s'mores making station, and Santa's game room filled with fun games for kids and adults alike. There are even heated glass houses if you want to sit down and grab a bite to eat. You can experience all of this through December 31st before Santa packs up and heads back to the North Pole. Ho, ho, ho! And that's our show for today. For more information on what you just saw, check out our website at tv.cuny.edu and follow our social media profiles. We even have a CUNY TV app now where you can watch us anytime, anywhere, on the go. And you know how we love sharing our Latino stories with you, so definitely check it out and download. And please make sure you tune in next month where you'll meet Argentinian folk singer Juana Luna, learn how younger Latinas are focusing on their health, and so much more. ¡Huepa! ¡Hasta la próxima! Bye-bye!
Merry
¡Feliz Navidad!
Feliz Navidad and happy holidays!
Ho, ho, ho!